Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, scholars and dignitaries, welcome to another episode. Welcome to my world. So let me cut to the chase. This is so important that I want to share the end of the video even before we start, which anyone will tell you is not the thing to do. You build to the conclusion. But in this case, people may leave the video early, and I want them to know the three main points. First, amotivational syndrome is bad. It is a condition, a personality trait, a character defect that you do not want to have. It's often thought of as a simple laziness or procrastination, but actually it's much more complex. It is oppressive, it is stifling, it is overpowering. It will destroy your potential for high achievement in virtually every category of life. It's been described by researchers as a psychosocial dysfunction. It is bad. Second, if you have any degree of amotivational syndrome, marijuana will probably make it worse. That's what it does. It sucks the energy, the ambition, the personal vim and vigor, and drains you like a battery. And third, if you don't currently have amotivational syndrome, there's a good chance that marijuana use, depending upon the quantity, frequency, dose and dosage, set and setting, will give you an amotivational disposition, and it can become something that will haunt you for the rest of your life. Trust me, I've seen it, and it is a tragedy for people who had their potential for high success in life to be reduced to virtually nothing. Now, I'll give you just one example. A friend told me that one day he just woke up and decided to quit marijuana. He said he took an honest look at his life and he had spent the last 13 years in a fog, in a twilight zone, that he completely wasted his life. He had nothing to show for the last 13 years of his life. No family, no job, no house, no money, no friends, no accomplishments. He woke up one day and just said that he didn't want to live that way anymore. He wanted out. So he quit using the drug. And today, he is a successful family man with his own restaurant business and is doing very well. But he said he had to make a conscious decision to quit because it was killing him, really, in a slow, spiritual way. And I've heard that story from so many others. So there, I just revealed the three major findings about marijuana and the amotivational syndrome. But now let's take a closer look. All drugs have unintended effects. In the world of pharmacology, they are known as side effects, adverse effects, or serious adverse effects. Now, according to medical literature, an unwanted or unintended effect of a drug, short or long term, is considered a side effect if it occurs in more than 1% of the people taking that drug. And again, the side effects may be just mild or they can be severe. So again, to be labeled a bona fide side effect, it can't just be 1 in a million, but a finding at a significant proportion of users. And this is. In fact, in a self-reported study, 72% of youth who use marijuana reported that they have trouble concentrating. 41% felt confused or in a fog. 68% said that they daydream a lot. 63% that they act without stopping to think. And 59% said their schoolwork is poor. And again, these problems were post-marijuana initiation and increased as the frequency of use increased as well. And marijuana is not an exception to the rule of pharmacological side effects. It has 421 chemicals, 61 of them unique to marijuana. It affects the brain. It has immediate effects, some of which are negative, and it has long-term effects, many adverse and pronounced, depending upon certain variables. Research has now documented 65 different effects of marijuana, including both adverse physical effects and adverse neuropsychiatric effects. So, does marijuana kill ambition and performance? Well, stories of a marijuana-related amotivational syndrome, where chronic or heavy cannabis use impairs motivation and social performance, has been described in societies with a long history of use, such as Egypt, Greece, the Caribbean, and elsewhere. But with the increase of cannabis use among young adults in the United States in the late 1960s and early 70s, people started to see and report a similar syndrome occurring among heavy cannabis users here. Educators, social workers, employers, and the police started to see something that they never saw before. So, what are these observations, and just what is the evidence to say that marijuana causes amotivation? Well, clinical evidence suggests a correlation between chronic use of marijuana and the development of a syndrome characterized by a marked decrease in personal drive, motivation, and ambition, with apathy about the future, lethargy, shortened attention span, high distractibility, decreased concentration, and an overall impairment of judgment and memory of the chronic user. Now, this syndrome may not be unique to marijuana. There are several reports describing similar psychiatric disorders of amotivational syndrome among patients who have a history of taking some other psychoactive substances, including methamphetamine and certain medications and drugs, such as with selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs. And here are just 5 sets of anecdotal observations. Educators testify to youth whose academic marks dropped significantly after the initiation of marijuana use. It's not uncommon to see a straight A student begin to smoke marijuana and all of a sudden the grades plummet to D's and F's. Employers who participate in employee assistance programs will report on how the work performance of a valuable employee has suffered again after he or she began using marijuana. Clinicians and treatment agencies often observe and document, as a course of doing a drug use history, an amotivational signature observed as one of the criteria commonly reported for evaluation consistent with the DSM 5. And perhaps most telling are the hundreds and hundreds of reports by former marijuana users themselves. Often, when you read their stories of recovery, you'll see that they virtually all report that their lives have gone nowhere for years and years. No work, no families, no studies, no friends, no success. Chronic and persistent unemployment, just a type of marijuana imposed existence, almost a marijuana imposed prison. And again, researchers themselves have found amotivational syndrome to be among the most often reported co occurring symptoms and disorders of chronic marijuana use. In fact, severe amotivational syndrome, with the appearance of pseudo dementia, has been reported in heavy users in particular in countries where consumption is high. Although more pronounced, these syndromes are reminiscent of the lack of motivation observed in regular consumers. One researcher documented this phenomena as psychosocial dysfunction, resulting from repeated use of the substance, which includes persistent procrastination, low productivity, low self confidence, interpersonal or family conflicts, memory problems, and financial difficulties, where individuals often achieve considerably below their true potentials. Other researchers reported that amotivational syndrome has been found to be one of the neuropsychiatric adverse effects of marijuana. In one study of 268 cannabis users, over 20% interviewed stated that marijuana led to, quote, tiredness, low motivation, lack of energy, and some level of amotivational syndrome. According to one research pharmacologist at the New York University Medical Center, the biochemical basis for this syndrome is caused by the temporary low levels of testosterone produced by marijuana. He says you don't feel like doing much, with the exception of eating. In one 6 year study of 49 student high school disciplinary hearings for students possessing or being under the influence of marijuana, it was found that all students had serious school attendance problems. All students were 1 or more years behind their classmates in academic progress towards graduation as a result of numerous class failures, that those who at one time had been involved in sports or other extracurricular activities had dropped out once regular marijuana use began, and the teachers characterized all of the 49 students as, quote, apathetic and unmotivated. According to one researcher studying use on college campuses, a person with a marijuana induced amotivational syndrome basically decreases the frequency of doing things that need to be done but may be more unpleasant to do. This may include going to early classes or to classes that are hard or unappealing, or in accomplishing tasks that may simply be unenjoyable. The researcher stated that this best describes the cause and effect of marijuana and the motivational syndrome in most categories. For full disclosure, it remains unclear whether the development of an amotivational syndrome is an effect of incidental, regular, or chronic use of marijuana, or what percentage of users may develop the full syndrome or fall anywhere on the spectrum of the syndrome. Research has also not identified which conditions, pre existing or otherwise, also contribute to or intensify the development of the syndrome. Researchers also believe that early onset of use by adolescents or teens may be a high risk factor, and that the frequency of use, duration of use, dose and dosage, and pre existing psychosocial factors, including genetic dispositions, may also be factors in the development of amotivational syndrome. Conservatively, though, the use of marijuana may increase the probability of developing an amotivational syndrome and especially augmenting the syndrome if someone already has it. And heavy or frequent use of marijuana definitely increases the probability of the development of this syndrome. Furthermore, the syndrome itself further reinforces the chronic use of marijuana. So it's a circular phenomena, a causation and a reinforcement, a self-perpetuating dynamic. In any event, one of the adverse effects for many marijuana users, in fact, thousands and thousands of users, is the amotivational syndrome, a set of self defeating personality traits that can impair performance and goal attainment and impair human growth and development and maturity and self responsibility long into the future. And it actually can be chronic and progressive in nature. If a person does not overcome the resistance by mid 20s and begin to demonstrate the higher levels of responsibility for autonomy and independence, then amotivation can become a habit or pattern, chronic and persistent, and set in for a lifelong duration. Remember when parents used to say the old adage, don't smoke, it'll stunt your growth? Well, one of the worst side effects of marijuana use I've seen is that it stunts your life potential. The degree to which you can become a success in family, have a successful career, become a financial success, a social success, and have a success in reputation and integrity. The American Medical Association has come out and said, do not use marijuana. It is a dangerous drug. Remember, it is a powerful, mood modifying, mind altering, addictive drug with some 65 different types of effects, and many, such as the amotivational syndrome, can haunt one for many years. It has and continues to destroy lives. Hey, be safe, be well, and may God bless.